B, me name's Grant, principal software engineer at a mid-sized enterprise shop. Company does boring corporate platforms for giant clients with deep pockets and zero patient solid paycheck. Difficult work. And I built the system that keeps our biggest client wired into us like life support. Whole platform is mine at the architectural level. Old code stitched into newer services. AP is layered over legacy modules. Enough edge cases to give junior devs chest pain ugly in places. Powerful everywhere. Only 3 people really know how the whole monster breathes me. Cole, my infrastructure guy, and Devin, database surgeon and query whisperer. We're basically a closed-circuit years of late nights, garbage takeout, emergency fixes, and impossible deadlines. No office drama, no politics, just people who knew their jobs and did them well. Old CEO was a gruff old-school operator, cared about margin and delivery. If you made the company money, he paid you and stayed out of your way. Beautiful arrangement. Life stayed calm for years. Then he retired. Board said it was time to modernize the company. Image whenever people with stock options say, modernize. Normal employees should start pricing whiskey. They brought in a new CEO woman named Serena Young, polished, permanently camera-ready LinkedIn profile, looked like it had been assembled from a bingo card of executive buzzwords: visionary disruptor, culture, reformer, transformation, strategist first day. She walked through the office smiling like a motivational speaker who had just discovered indoor lighting, spent half the morning talking about unlocking new energy and reimagining leadership. Trailing right behind her was Nadine from HR. Nadine was already in love with her by lunchtime, kept looking at Serena like she had descended from heaven carrying inclusive policy templates. First few weeks were weird but survivable. Then the office started changing. In little ways, bland artwork disappeared, got replaced by posters of stern-looking women in blazers, staring into middle-distance slogans everywhere. Rise louder, reclaim, space build. A future that reflects us. Favorite one just said, the next era is female, right above the coffee station. Dumb, but whatever, I'm here to write code, not audit typography. Then came the mandatory weekly culture meetings, had nothing to do with engineering. No roadmaps, no client issues, no release cadence. Just Serena up front, talking about safety, voice, equity, historical imbalance, and rewriting outdated structures. Nadine chiming in every 5 minutes about unconscious bias and hidden power patterns. Most guys in engineering just mentally checked out. We'd all seen some version of this before, figured it would pass. If we kept shipping product, turned out Serena had a special fixation on our department, biggest team in the company, also mostly male. She'd stroll through our section, not saying much. Just watching us like we were a sociological exhibit. One day she tells me our team's vibe feels aggressively masculine. I ask what that actually means. She smiles and says, awareness is the first step. Later I tell Cole and Devin over lunch. We laugh it off. Assume she's another corporate performer, inventing problems. So nobody asks what value she actually adds. Huge mistake, real show starts at all hands. Meeting whole company packed into main conference room. Serena at the podium, glowing like she's about to announce a moon landing. Nadine beside her with a clipboard and the expression of somebody attending a coronation. Serena opens with standard praise, thanks everyone for dedication. Celebrates resilience, talks about ushering in a more just future. Then her tone changes. Starts talking about historical imbalance, systemic patterns, courage to make bold corrections. My internal alarm starts throwing sparks. Then she says, internal audit uncovered a serious and troubling gender pay disparity inside the company. Dramatic pause, audible gasp from a couple women in marketing. I glance at Cole. He gives me the exact same look I was already making, because we all knew what people were paid in broad terms. Our comp wasn't based on chromosomes. It was based on skill, role, market value, and whether losing you would light a client contract on fire. Serena keeps going, says, to correct this injustice, she is implementing a revolutionary compensation realignment effective next pay cycle. All male employees will take a 20% salary. Reduction whole, room goes dead. Not quiet, dead for a second. I genuinely think maybe I misheard it, 20%. 1/5 of my salary deleted by executive decree. Serena still isn't finished. Money from the cuts will be diverted into an equity advancement pool. That pool will fund raises for all female staff and allow the company to become a leader in restorative compensation. Then she smiles, like she expects applause. Nadine starts clapping instantly. Few women from HR and marketing join in, hesitant at first, then harder. Once they realize nobody is stopping them, engineering section looks like it just got hit by artillery. Wasn't only the money, it was the naked contempt we were being fined for being male, not for performance, not for misconduct, for existing in the wrong category during someone else's leadership. Fantasy meeting breaks up in total shock. People shuffle out quietly. Every man I pass has the same expression. Disbelief mixing with anger, mixing with something close to betrayal. As lead engineer, I know I have to try, request private meeting with Serena. First thing next morning, spend whole evening preparing market compensation, data, retention numbers, recruiting timelines, risk analysis on our flagship client system. Keep it cold and logical. No emotion, no ranting, just business reality. Walk into Serena's office next day. Nadine is already there, seated beside her like legal counsel. For a cult, I lay everything out. Tell Serena. My team's pay reflects a decade of specialized experience and direct responsibility for the company's most valuable asset. Explain that our compensation is competitive. Not inflated, warn her that cutting critical engineers by 20% will destroy morale and push people out the door. Fast, tell her losing. One of us is bad, losing all three of us. Puts the major client contract at serious risk. Serena listens with that polished smile the whole time when I finish. She folds her hands and thanks me for being candid, then immediately starts speaking to me like I'm a slow teenager, says I'm looking at the issue from within my own privilege, says. What privileged people call merit is often just the byproduct of structures built in their favor. Nadine jumps in and says, my resistance is a perfect example of male defensiveness. When inequity finally gets challenged, unreal moment. Not one response to my actual business points. Not one question about client exposure or retention risk. They already decided the conclusion. Our success wasn't earned. It was evidence we weren't assets to protect. We were a cultural problem to correct. I try one last time. Tell Serena this isn't about gender, it's about expertise. Tell her me, Cole, and Devin built and maintained the platform, keeping our largest client attached to the company. Tell her if we leave, that system becomes a crisis. That's when her smile finally drops. She leans forward and tells me, nobody is indispensable, says company has relied on a toxic male-dominated engineering structure. Long enough says, maybe disruption is exactly what we need. Hearing that? Everything goes very still in my head, because now it's obvious she doesn't misunderstand our value. She rejects it. We're not talent in her eyes. We're an obstacle standing in front of the identity story. She wants to tell about herself. I stand up, thank her for her time, leave without another word, don't go back to my desk. First walk, straight to Cole, then to Devin, tell them 2 words, we're done. Both of them understand immediately, no dramatic questions, just nods. That evening we meet at the same dive bar we've used as an unofficial war room for years. Cheap beer, sticky table game, on mute above the bar. Nobody yells, nobody rants after a minute. Devin asks, what's the move? Cole says we walk, but we walk smart, exactly right. Weren't going to storm out and hand Serena a victim story. We'd line up new jobs first, all 3 of us, then we'd leave together. Company brought us in over the years. As a team, now they'd lose us as one. Over next 2 weeks, we quietly work our networks, update resumes, take interviews. Turns out 3 senior engineers with deep enterprise experience are not hard to place. Cole gets offer from a competitor with more money and better title. Devin lands remote role at a finance startup for stupid money. I get 2 offers myself, except principal architect job from a firm that had tried poaching me before base pay alone is almost 30% higher than what I made before Serena's cut. Now the plan is real. We pick a Monday, start of the month, clean timing, write resignation, letters short, professional 0, emotion, weird, calm, settles over, all 3 of us, anger gone, just clarity. We'd already won, the only part that mattered. We were leaving on our terms weekend before resignation. We meet for one last beer toast, the future toast, competence toast, the free lesson in reality. Serena was about to receive Monday morning. I walk into the office lighter than I've felt in weeks. Atmosphere is bizarre resentment from some people, forced cheer. From others catch Nadine giving a little motivational speech to a cluster of junior women who look thrilled about the equity raises. Ignore all of it. At exactly 10, the three of us stand up in sync, walk together to HR. Nadine looks up and freezes when she sees us coming. As a group, I put my resignation letter on her desk. Cole places his on top of mine. Devin lays his on top of Cole's, 3 envelopes, nice, clean stack. Nadine's smug expression dissolves, in real time, stares at the letters, then at us asks what this is like. Maybe paperwork can become a misunderstanding. If she says it slowly enough, I tell her it's our 2 weeks' notice, say we'll document everything, and provide a professional transition, courtesy. They absolutely did not earn, but we weren't going to lower ourselves to Serena's level. Nadine goes pale and grabs phone to call Serena. We turn around and walk back to our desks. Entire office is watching now. Few minutes later, Serena storms out of her office and tells us to come with her, not shouting worse, that low, seething tone people use when they are trying not to lose control in public. We follow her in, Nadine already. They're looking shaken. Serena asks if we think this is funny, asks if we think coordinated resignation is some kind of pressure tactic. I keep my voice flat and tell her it isn't pressure, just 3 career decisions we've received, better offers, and accepted them. She scoffs and says, or maybe you're just throwing a tantrum because you can't handle a strong woman making a tough decision. Cole, usually the quietest guy in any room, answers. Before I do, tells her we're engineers and we make decisions, off logic and value, says market value, says our skills are worth more elsewhere. That's all. Serena actually looks stunned for a second, like unemotional resistance wasn't on her script. So she changes angle, says we're abandoning our project and acting unprofessionally. Devin steps in and reminds her we're giving full notice and transition. Document says that's professionalism. Then adds that slashing critical employees based on sex is what was unprofessional. That lands hard. Serena slams, hand on desk, tells us to go. Says the company doesn't need our toxic entitlement. Says she'll build a better team, a more diverse team. Says we'll be forgotten within a month. I ask if that's all. She just glares. So we leave. Next 2 weeks are surreal. We do exactly what we said. Document everything, architecture maps, dependency, trees, deployment, order, recovery, procedures, access, logic. Basically write an encyclopedia for how to keep the crown jewel platform alive. All of us know it won't be enough. Can't replace 10 years of live system intuition with a PDF and a folder tree. You can hand somebody the plans for a jet engine doesn't mean they can fly. Meanwhile, Serena and Nadine go into recruitment frenzy, but it becomes obvious they're hiring for optics first and competence second. Candidates keep getting paraded through the office. We can tell within minutes. None of them are anywhere near senior enough to handle our stack. Rest of company is walking around like it's in church after bad news. People who cheered the policy now look nervous. People who hated it keep their heads down and wait. Last day arrives, no send-off, no farewell speech. We box up desks, hand in badges, and walk out. I look back at building from parking lot, don't feel sad, don't feel angry, mostly feel free. We refused to let ourselves get devalued and stayed professional. Doing it knew Serena was about to learn the difference between ideology and dependency. The hard way first week at new job feels like oxygen after smoke. Office is quiet. Meetings are about architecture and timelines instead of feelings and justice rituals. Nobody has posters telling me what moral category my chromosomes belong to. New boss points to workstation, hands me project files, says, glad to have me. Normal sentence, almost emotional hearing. It Cole and Devin report same thing at their new places, respect from day one. Real work, real conversations, felt like escaping some weird corporate cult and re-entering reality. For a while we barely talk about old company. Then about a week after leaving, I get LinkedIn message from one of the junior devs. We used to mentor, good kid smart, always paid attention. Message just says, hope you're well, things are complicated here. I ask what happened. He calls me. Instead of typing, says he doesn't want anything in writing, sounds stressed out of his skull, tells me Serena hired a brand new lead engineering trio. The day after we left, says interview process was a joke. Nadine cared more about social views than technical depth. New team is, in his words, visually perfect for Serena's story, and absolutely hopeless in practice, apparently first day. They didn't review architecture, didn't audit services, didn't inspect deployment chain. They held meeting about how the existing codebase expressed patriarchal assumptions and needed to be reframed before anyone could responsibly maintain it. Still not sure what that means, and neither was the junior dev. He says they spent the entire first week failing to configure some custom dev environment on brand new MacBooks because they didn't want to work inside the existing Windows-based stack our whole production environment depended on. That stack wasn't ideological, was operational, reality. New team couldn't even get the project compiling cleanly. Instead of trusting the documentation we left, they treated it like hostile propaganda, tried to infer system logic from vibes, inevitable failure hits, about 2 weeks in small bug shows, up in a reporting module. Old version of us would have fixed it in 15 minutes. Pretty routine index issue. Junior dev says, new team spends full day staring at logs, then holds 2-hour discussion about how the error reflects historical bias in data structures. After that, they attempt to fix. Don't touch the index, rewrite query, logic from scratch. Using some experimental paradigm they found on a blog, result reporting module, detonates client, uses that module daily for core metrics. They notice within the hour, phone lines start lighting up. Junior dev says he hears Serena in her office using her ultra-confident executive voice, telling client, this is a scheduled upgrade to enhance performance and equity. Client is a giant logistics company. They do not care about equity. They care about whether their numbers exist. Pressure explodes, new team panics and tries rollback. But they don't understand our deployment process, push, corrupted build, into staging that triggers auth service failure. Now, nobody can log in at all. Minor bug becomes full systemic outage junior dev. Calls me that night, whispering like he's reporting from a hostage situation. Says client is furious and talking breach of contract. Also says Serena and Nadine held emergency meeting with the new team. According to what he overheard, they spent most of it blaming us. Said our code was deliberately obtuse. Said our documentation was manipulative. Said, maybe we sabotage the system before leaving. Serena grabs onto that instantly. Because desperate people love scapegoats, she gets back on phone with client and claims her new team discovered dangerous security. Backdoors left by disgruntled former employees. Pure fiction. There were no backdoors. There was just incompetence moving at scale group chat with Cole and Devin. Lights up whole thing. Feels like watching a slow-motion train wreck from a safe hill. None of us are happy. Exactly. We built that system. Watching it get mauled by idiots actually hurts. But Serena had been warned in plain English several more days pass and system still unstable. Client now losing visible money by the hour. Then they do something none of us expected. Invoke audit clause and send their own technical team to the office. Junior dev narrates it like live sports. 3 serious engineers from client side show up. No patience, no interest in philosophy. They ask for server access, repository history, deployment logs, incident trail. Serena's people try to slow roll them with talk about process and reframing client's lead engineer. Older guy with zero tolerance for nonsense cuts them off and says he doesn't need a philosophy seminar. He needs root access. Beautiful sentence. They spend next 8 hours digging through everything by the end of day junior. Dev says, client engineers look disgusted next morning. I get call from unknown number. Answer it. Voice on other end. Introduces himself as Martin, CTO of client company. Asks if I'm the original architect of the platform. Tell him, yes. He says we have a serious problem. Then explains his team, has reviewed the outage, says system itself is robust, says current team is catastrophically unqualified, says our documentation is immaculate, and there is no sign of sabotage or backdoors, just a team in way over its head, causing catastrophic failure while trying to solve a trivial issue. I let him talk. Martin gets blunt, says his company does not care about Serena's politics. They need the platform restored, and the only people who seem capable are me and my former guys. Then he makes the offer very expensive, short-term consulting contract. Wants the 3 of us to come in as independent contractors, fix the mess, and stabilize the system, says he'll handle Serena. I tell him I appreciate it, but need to talk with Cole and Devin first. Quick conference call later. All three of us feel exactly the same. No. Not because of revenge, because going back would mean saving Serena from the consequences of her own choices. We'd already rebuilt our lives in sane workplaces. We weren't going back into the blast zone just because the arsonist finally smelled smoke. I call Martin back and decline professionally. Tell him we're committed to our new employers and unavailable. Hear the exhaustion in his sigh. Says he understands and can't blame us. Figure that's the end. Obviously it isn't. 2 days later, I'm deep in work at new job when phone buzzes. Serena stare at screen for 10 full seconds. Curiosity wins. Take call, in empty conference room, voice on other end, almost doesn't sound like her. All arrogance gone, replaced by this thin, fake cheerfulness, stretched over panic. She asks how the new job is, like we're casual friends now. I tell her I'm fine and ask what she wants. She gives this little breath and starts talking about a complicated situation. Legacy, instability, unfortunate server events, classic euphemism, dump, then finally gets to the ask wants me, Cole and Devin, to come back as consultant says, name your price, says anything, says they need us month earlier. She had looked me in the eye and said, nobody is irreplaceable now. She was bargaining with reality. I let silence sit there for a second, then tell her no. Just that one syllable, she sounds genuinely confused. Like denial was never supposed to be aimed upward, says she'll double what I'm making, then triple. I tell her, it isn't about money. She asks if this is revenge. Tell her, honestly, that it isn't. Say we're not cleanup. Labor, you can summon, once your experiment breaks. We're professionals, and we choose stable environments where competence matters. Then I add that I'm leading a priority project at my current company, can't abandon it. That would be unprofessional, using her own word. There felt almost too easy. Long silence after that. I can hear her breathing shaking through the phone. Finally, she whispers that she understands, then hangs up last time I ever spoke to her. After that, fallout hits fast. Junior dev, keeps me updated next day. Client officially terminates contract and files suit for damages and gross negligence. That contract was more than half the company's annual revenue losing. It was basically cardiac arrest. Emergency board meeting gets called. Serena fired unanimously. Junior Dev says he saw her leave that afternoon, carrying cardboard box and looking like someone had finally removed the stage lights. No smile, no power walk, no speeches. Just silence, layoffs. Start the following week, first department gutted almost completely. HR Nadine among the first out the door. Then marketing, all the people who had cheered the cuts and benefited from them, got introduced to consequence by spreadsheet. Serena's hand-picked replacement team got dropped too. Within a month, old company was barely breathing. Eventually, bigger corporations scooped it up cheap just for the intellectual property. Original company name disappeared, gone later. Somebody sent me screenshots of the public employee reviews. From that period, absolute massacre management punished top talent based on sex and destroyed the business, ideology over competence, hostile work environment. Avoid at all costs, weirdly satisfying reading, truth written by strangers. Every so often, Cole, Devin, and I meet for lunch. We don't obsess over the old place, no reason to. All three of us are doing better than ever. Good work, good pay, normal respect. We never set out to destroy a company. We just refused to be devalued inside one. Serena made her own calls. She picked ideology over reality, punishment over performance, optics over outcomes. And in the end, the world that actually matters, the one built on results instead of speeches, returned its verdict. Karma turned out to be a better operator than she was.